Now here are my credentials if you don't believe me. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the 2 to 3 day a week split that allowed me to basically double the muscle mass I was able to put on. Now if you don't believe me, here's my before with what I was doing previously, normal training, what most people do, and here's my after with what my new method or the new thing that I learned, which is going to be able to transform you along with me. Now, the science behind this method goes along with the basic approaches to muscle hypertrophy. Now in order to create muscular hypertrophy, we need one thing and one thing only, which is mechanical tension. And in order to gain this mechanical tension, we need to put the muscle under a high degree of load relative to what it can handle and push it close to failure. But this is a huge misconception. This is what most people get wrong. This is why you're not making muscle gains. It's because they try to maximize the muscle damage because they believe that's what causes muscle growth. They believe that by damaging the muscle fibers, they're going to grow back bigger and you'll be bigger, and that's just not how it works. Muscle damage is just a side effect to mechanical tension. So whenever people try to prioritize muscle damage, they lower the mechanical tension they get, which is why they build like no muscle. You ever see guys that go to the gym for years and years and years, and they look the exact same. That's why they're trying to prioritize muscular damage. Another reason we don't want a lot of muscular damage is because whenever you have muscular damage, you can't push your muscles as hard, right? Like the day after you run a marathon, you have a lot of muscular damage. You're not going to be able to do a 1 rep max squat, right? That's basically what happens when these guys, they do high volume workouts and then they go the next day and try to do it all again. You're not going to be able to push as hard, you're not going to get stronger, and you're not going to be able to recover. Okay, so now we're going to get into how to actually use my method and what the method is in order to maximize mechanical tension while only being in the gym 2 to 3 days a week. So the way we can do this is by running a full body split. Now you may be thinking full body, but that's going to take forever. It's going to take me 3 hours. And the fact is, it's not going to take you 3 hours. It'll take you 1 hour, 15 minutes maximum, and you only have to do it 3 times a week, or even 2 times a week would still work. And the way we're going to, maximize muscular hypertrophy, maximize mechanical tension, is by moving in a 4 to 6 rep range for every single set. It doesn't matter what exercise. Lateral raises, 4 to 6 reps. Now the reason we're going to be doing this is because whenever you do like 12 rep sets, you might be thinking, oh, the burn is helping me. But remember, the burn is muscle damage and lactic acid buildup. So that is actually not helping you build muscle. It's just a side effect, of training in general. So we want to actually minimize that. And whenever you work in low reps, it forces your muscles to work the hardest they possibly can, because in order to move heavy weight, you have to be pushing as hard as you can. But we don't want to go too heavy in the 1 rep max, 2 rep max categories, because when we get to that point, you're going to be using so much muscle that you're going to be taxing yourself too much, causing more fatigue than if we were to just use higher reps. Then the next thing we want to do is we're only going to do 1 to 2 sets per exercise. Now, this only really applies if you're only trying to be in the gym for a short amount of time, because, as we know, that's why you clicked on the video. You can still get muscle gains, from these 2 sets, 1 to 2 sets, but they must be taken to failure. Now, you have to be pushing really hard. A lot of people, they'll say they're pushing to failure, but if you look at their facial expression, they don't even look like they're, tired at all. And at the end of their sets, the reps don't even slow down a little bit. By the end of your set, your reps should be very slow if you're going to actual failure. And that is my point. You should be pushing your sets extremely hard and only for the few sets that you have, right? Because I find that whenever you add 4 or 5 sets, with higher reps, you tend to try and save your fuel for the sets that you have afterwards, rather than giving it your all from the first set. That takes me to my next part, 3 days a week, full body, right? And the reason for this is because we want to hit the muscle groups as close to each other as we possibly can, right? So to put it into perspective, here's a graph, right? We got the muscles and we train them once, right? So they go down because give them time to recover, but because we use low volume and we train really intensely, it's not going to take very long for them to recover and get stronger, right? Because you lose strength in that first amount of time after you train, right? Then you build muscle, and then by that time, the day after, 2 days after that training session, you can train again with that new strength, right? So you're gonna be able to put on strength a lot faster than you normally would with, upper lower or a bro split. So the idea is full body every other day, low volume, low reps, super high intensity. And when I say super high intensity, I don't mean drop sets, I don't mean supersets, anything like that. All that's gonna do is hurt you in the long run because it creates more fatigue with less mechanical tension. Okay, next we have exercise selection. Now I put this part at the end because a lot of people will only watch these videos for exercise selection. They won't pay attention to the volume or anything else, so I put it at the end so you have to watch the rest. And so for exercise selection, we want to train the muscle where they have best leverage, right? So triceps, we're going to be training them in the mid to contracted position. So you could do a tricep push down, right? You only need one exercise really per muscle group. You don't have to do a squat pattern for your quads. All you have to do is a leg extension. All these things, like using machine exercises and stable exercises, is just the general idea that's going to boost your muscle growth by a lot. I spent a lot of time doing heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, and this just fatigued me. I was building muscle, but not very fast because of all this fatigue. And that's